Elkins presents the Elkins Accounting Hour with your host, Chad Elkins.
All right. Happy Thursday, you guys. It's looking like it's just going to be me tonight. Unfortunately, Clary needed to go hiking all afternoon and into the evening. He gets so stressed out from his very consequential job of sitting in his pajamas and yelling at the clouds whenever he feels like it, that he needs to take periodic stress breaks from it. So I'm just kidding. But yeah, he's not going to be able to join for this one. So it'll just be us. So first thing is first. I almost never drink sours on here. And I thought I would show you guys this one because I like it. It's called Gorilla Tears from Martin House, which is my favorite brewery here in Fort Worth. It's their fruit punch sour. And before you guys give me the whole oh, that's a frou-frou beer. This one is 8%, so it packs a punch, and it's really good. Would you guys mind letting me know how my audio is? I never know when I'm by myself if it's coming across all right. I was on a Zoom earlier today, and somebody was complaining that it was quiet. So if you wouldn't mind, just let me know. Yeah, I love this one. Check out the color of it. Sours really are kind of an acquired taste. Like, I didn't like them for years. See how it's sort of like reddish, fruit punch. But once I started this brewery, Martin House, once I started trying their sours, I was like, wait a minute, these are actually really good. And yeah, cheers. It's honestly like drinking a high C, high C fruit punch. It's really good. It's not frou-frou. Okay, the audio is good. Sweet. The other thing I wanted to mention was that you probably didn't notice this, but the candidate got me a new office chair last week, and it's awesome because in addition to being really comfortable, it vibrates like it's a massage one. I'm gonna put it on now. You won't really be able to tell, but you might be able to hear it. But yeah, it's super relaxing. And the thing is, it's actually in a way that's kind of bad because I've been using it too much. And when you get too relaxed, like you get sleepy and you don't really want to do work, you're just kind of like, so I don't really use this function that much, but it's good stuff. So let's see who's in the chat real quick. Who we got? There was some discussion in here. What's up, Thinking Time? Torgo, Nick is Steve. Who else? See, I get to do this when it's just me. Oh, Common. Yeah, we were chatting in there earlier. Nick Guglielmo, who's new. Italian Boy 15. Homeschool Time, what's up? Parker, I need a update, man. We got less than 3 weeks left of this tax season stuff, so I want to know where you're at. And really, if you have space for more clients, maybe I can send you some. Andrew, Seth. Oh yeah, Filipino working at CVS. What's up, man? I was just watching Raymond, and I've seen you in there. Cappy's off recording a 10-minute intro to scare away more subscribers. Yeah, I've heard some people criticize his intros, but I don't know. They're all right. James Burke, what's up, man? What time is it over there? Are you in the UK? Fruit punch, man. Pariah 501. A second accountant put their 2 weeks notice in. Oh man, this place is running people off like crazy. Sundress. Huh. What did you mean by that? What's up, Bob? And Alex Patino, truck driving agent in the field. Sam Adams. Yes, I've had their cherry wheat beer. It's actually pretty good. I haven't had it in a while, but I first tried that 12 or 13 years ago, and it's actually pretty good. I need to get that one again. And Phil, what's up, dude? Phil, I keep missing your streams because it's tax season, and by the end of the day, you tend to go on late, which I like, because I'm kind of a night owl. But when you come on, I'm just so zonked out from doing taxes that I can't even keep my eyes open. did you stream last night overnight for like 6 hours? Is that what I saw? Because I woke up to that and it was like almost like a bacon stream. So good stuff, man. And if this is all over in less than 3 weeks, and then I can hang more. Oh, what's up, All Pro Lemonton Z? Arturo Galindo for $2. Thanks, man. Did you have a message at all? Uh, so speaking of tax season, yes, there's less than 3 weeks left of it. Technically, it's what, like 20 days until April 15th. Some of my family and friends are asking me, how many more do you have to do? Not because they want me to do work for them, but they're just curious. I'm anticipating I probably am going to need to do between another 40 and 50 in the next 20 days. So that sounds like a lot, but it's really not, because I mean, once the corporate deadline is finished, the March 15th one, it's all about the individual returns. And those honestly tend to be a little bit easier. I mean, yeah, there's some hard ones, but when you've done so many of those, they're a lot less time consuming. And, as long as people are getting you their documents timely and where you're not missing a lot of them, which honestly is kind of rare. I've noticed that even my long-term clients, they'll send me their stuff when I ask them to, but there's always one or two documents missing, and it gets pretty frustrating. And a lot of the time it's because they're forgetting about it. Some of it's laziness, but a lot of times they just forget the one or two documents, the same ones they always forget. My favorite, and honestly, this has been happening a lot and it's been getting irritating. My favorite is when I get an email from clients, these are usually corporate clients, and we're shifting to their individual returns. And they say something like, can you tell me what you need from me for my personal returns? And I'm just like, I send a checklist out to everybody in January. But what's irritating about that question is that all they really have to do is look at what they sent me last year or what they uploaded to my portal. Remember, these are long-term clients. So I don't know, that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way, how they're just like, tell me what I need to do. And I know that sounds a little bit nitpicky, but when you've been with me a long time, you really should just already know what to upload. So yeah, mini rant there. So another update. I got a cool thing I want to chat about tonight. This will indeed be a personal therapy session for me, because this has gotten irritating over the last week. So the guy I was ranting about last week, I called him Ricky, I believe. This was the guy that was offended that even though I'm no longer his tax accountant, he keeps texting me for advice. And so I finally had to block him because he just wouldn't stop. I was talking with a mutual friend. This was over the weekend. And this guy, he's friends with both of us. And I'm pretty tight with him. We can tell each other anything. And he was like, man, I got to tell you, Ricky's really upset with like you basically blocking him. And, when I explained my side of the story, our mutual friend was basically like, I can see why you did that. Because of course, Ricky's going to be like, Chad's being a jerk. I just asked one question and, he blocked me, but he had been pissing me off for weeks, really months. So I got to give my side of the story, and I was glad I got to do that because, we do have mutual friends, and I don't want him trashing my name. But that friendship is over. I don't see how that one can be resurrected after this. And we've had clashes before. I even ranted about them before within the last year. But yeah, sometimes I don't like to do it, but sometimes you just gotta let friends go. So, all right. That's all my preliminary stuff. I'm going to try to zip through this because I do still have work to do. But so tonight's rant, tonight's topic, I do kind of wish Clary was here because it'd be fun to run all this by him. But see, Clary likes to bust on the other side of the political aisle a lot. He'll be like, oh, Dems, liberals, I can't stand them and they're the worst. Tonight, this is actually going to be about ones that are more on the other side of the fence that have been sort of putting this crap in front of me And what it is that here's the thing. And I'll go. I'm going to go over emails in an article, but I understand that Trump and Elon, DOGE, all that stuff, they did absolutely gut a lot of the IRS's workforce. Now, not a ton, but they did cut out a lot of the new hires, within the last year. So they are down staff. But for some reason, that's given some people the wrong idea about taxes and the need to file. So I'm gonna start out by reading a couple of emails. Let me go find them here. This is email number 1. Let's call this guy Carl. Okay, this is a client of mine. He's been one for a while. I got this email on Saturday. So what's that? 4 or 5 days ago. He said, "Oh, so background. I'm going to give you the background. This dude is very conservative politically, and even he does live in Chicago. He's a small business owner, and he also rents out a bunch of properties. So he's a dude that has business expenses, property expenses. He needs help with his returns, and so of course he came to me years ago, and he's been a longtime client, and this means that filing his taxes is a very critical component for him, right? Because if you have a small business and if you're renting out properties, there's these little things called business expenses and rental expenses, not to mention the income that you're getting for both. So he generally hits me up around mid to late March every year because that's when he gets his stuff together. And he did. So I finally heard from him Saturday, and listen to what this email said, and I just can't believe this. He goes, quote, "Hey Chad, how's your tax season been so far? I know this is usually the time we get started on working on my returns, but I've been reading about how Trump may be getting rid of income taxes and how DOGE is clearing everyone out of the IRS. For these reasons, I wanted to let you know that I've decided not to file my tax returns for 2024 because I don't think it's going to be necessary going forward. Thanks so much for being such a good professional for me over the years, and let's definitely stay in touch." So I get that, and I'm like, holy shit, is this guy stupid? You know what? Since Clary is not here, do you guys want to guess what I responded to this? Like, tell me what you think I responded with, and then I'll read to you what I did. Yeah, I'll wait. I know, Filipino, what part of death and taxes is unclear. I'm telling you, like, there are some people on the other side of the political aisle that I'll just leave it at that. So, YOLO. Yeah, YOLO. So I wrote back. I'm not going to read what I wrote back because I was like, listen, man, and I gave my reasons for why this was a big mistake. But I basically explained to him that Trump and DOGE haven't officially done anything yet that would eliminate the income tax, and that he's definitely going to be penalized down the road if he doesn't file any tax returns, particularly as a business and rental property owner, because this guy gets a lot of 1099 forms from various people that pay him money, and because he works with organizations and property management companies and all that. Now the IRS obviously doesn't like it when you take too many expenses. If you're biting off more than you can chew on those, yeah, you may get audited. You'll get noticed, and then they'll come to you and say, we need to talk about these expenses. But you want to know what they really hate? You know what the IRS hates more than anything, and they will be on a rampage to come after you about? What they really hate is underreporting your income. I mean, that's when they're coming out guns a-blazing. And if you have 1099 forms that you receive, and this guy gets a lot of them based on his tax situation, they know about it because they get copies of that, and the computer is going to catch you, and you're going to get a very nasty very nasty CP2000 notice, among other notices saying, hey, you misreported your income. Here's a big penalty and interest. So I outlined all this to him. I did this either Sunday or Monday, but I did it as soon as I could. I was just like, look, this is a bad idea. Please reconsider. And his response was essentially that that he'd made up his mind and that his decision was final. Like, I couldn't change his mind about this. He's just very insistent that this was the path that he was choosing to go down. So I wrote back again asking, I was like, can I at least file an extension for you in case you change your mind later? Like, this will give us an opportunity to, revisit this later. It doesn't give you more time to pay your taxes, but at least you won't get penalized for not filing, because that makes sense, right? Let's at least kick the can down the road as best we can. You know what? He hasn't gotten back to me yet. And because I sent that a few days ago, I'm actually not sure I'm ever going to hear from him again, at least until he gets a notice in the mail, which is going to take a while because the computers have to wait till tax season passes. Then the algorithms start. Well, they're going to notice that he's got 1099 forms that he never reported the income. I mean, the IRS's technology is bad, but they're functional enough to know when you didn't report any of your 1099 income. And this is the path he's going down. I honestly hope for his sake that he actually is firing me because he wants to work with another tax accountant. I mean, yeah, you don't want to get fired, but I mean, one, everybody's replaceable as a client at this point. And two, at least he wouldn't get in big trouble. But he's really asking for it with this. And yeah, Lee, I say there's a reason I'm making a paper trail here. Well, an electronic trail, with email. Last thing I want is for him to come at me with oh, he didn't warn me that this would happen, blah, blah, blah. Believe me, I outlined very carefully in these emails, which you should all do, by the way. I'm sure you're all smart enough to know that. But if you start your own tax practices and somebody is going to do something stupid like this, or even just flat out tell you that they're going to commit fraud, which does happen, people do that over email, make sure that you keep a paper trail. Really important that you do that. Our professional liability insurance carriers instruct us to do that. Yeah, I'll port 11 to Z. It is his problem now. And I actually like the guy personally. Like we've gone out drinking before several years ago, but I don't want anything bad to happen to him, but he's just not listening to me on this. Maybe he'll get back to me a little bit later because we're still, 20 days from April 15th. There's still time for me to file the extension. But I guess we'll see. So that's story number one. Like that, I found that extremely alarming. I didn't think I'd be getting any more emails like this until yesterday. I got another one like this yesterday, and I'm going to read that one. This is email number 2 yesterday from, we'll call him Phil. Let's call this guy Phil, okay? Now, Phil is not the same type of client as Carl was. He's totally different. Phil is basically just your basic W-2 client with a few investment and brokerage accounts. So, he gets forms for those, 1099 divs, 1099 interest, and, things related to stock transactions. And, he's a little bit active with his stock trading. And the thing is, because of how bad of a day trader he is, he almost always gets refunds because we have to factor in the capital losses that accrue. And you can only take 3,000 of those per year, to run against your income. The rest kind of rolls over. So he's got a big carry forward. But the bottom line is the guy always gets refunds because he's terrible at picking stocks. He has a basic W-2 job that withholds enough taxes to get a refund based on reducing his income, on how piss poor of a day trader he is. Okay. He was one of my early dude bro type clients. I've known him a long time. again, and I hate to say this, but it's true. He is on the other side of the political fence of who Clary likes to bust on related to taxes. He's on the right-leaning side. So let me read to you what he sent me. This is, we'll call him Phil. Hey, his was short. Hey, Chad, I hope you're doing well, man. I've been seeing a lot of chatter on social media that I'm not required to file a tax return anymore. Is this true? If so, let's not file for 2024. That was the whole message. You just be like, hey, I heard I don't have to do this anymore, so let's not do it. So what do you think? What do you think I told him? Like, what do you think my reply was? Normally I'd ask Clary that, but I'll give you guys 30 seconds just to see if you have any guesses. It should be pretty obvious what my reply was to him. I'm not gonna have to pay taxes. Elon's taking me to Mars with him. Yeah. So I replied to him. I won't read it again. I listed a lot of things because I'm trying to cover my tail. This, I don't want to be blamed for a mistake later. But I basically told Phil that because of his tax situation each year, he'd be a complete moron to not file his returns because he always gets refunds. Now, I wasn't a jerk about it. I didn't say you always get refunds because you're one of the worst day traders I've ever come across my entire life. I didn't say that. I just said due to the unique circumstances of your tax situation, which really aren't that unique. These dude bros are a dime a dozen, but I was trying to be nice. I was like, you need to file a return. We'll get you the refunds. And I guess it just occurred to me that he doesn't have enough self-awareness to understand that, God, I've been doing Phil's returns since I think either 2016 or 2017. He's gotten refunds every single freaking year. So why would he send me an email like that? Like, this guy has a decent job, except for the day trading. He's bad at that, but he has another type of job. I won't say what it is, but he's not stupid, professionally at least. And I was just shocked he didn't have the self-awareness to understand that if you don't file a tax return, we can't get your refunds. So pretty stupid, right? Now, I only replied to him last night because I got this one late in the day yesterday. It actually I couldn't figure out a topic for this week, so that's why I was like, okay, I need to talk about this. He hasn't replied to me yet, but I think I'll probably hear from him tonight. In fact, I'm going to check real quick just to make sure. It'd be cool if I got the email now. Okay, no, I haven't heard back from Phil. But I really hope he says to me, okay, good point. Let's do it, because he's just so dumb. Damn it. How did you know that, Abdullah Mohammed? Is it that obvious? I mean, I generally respect people in the healthcare field because, the candidate is in healthcare. And they tend to, I don't have any issues with doctors or nurses or anything. But yeah, some of them, I worry, think they're smarter than they really are when it comes to other matters outside of their areas of expertise. Is it called the Dunning-Kruger effect? I don't know, but just because they're good at their jobs, they think they're good at other things. And that might be the case here. It certainly is with his day trading, which is, geez, I think his carry forward loss is possibly reached the 6-figure mark at this point. I mean, he's really bad at this. So yeah, that was another one I got last night. And it was really disappointing to get that from him because I generally respect his intelligence. So those were the 2 emails I got. And now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read an article because I started to wonder, are people getting, like, yeah, social media influencers on TikTok have been leaving terrible advice. They have terrible advice anyway. you know, because they take every tiny little nuanced situation and they act like it applies to everybody. Like, oh, you can write off your whole swimming pool. That's in very limited circumstances are you allowed to do that, which I'm not going to get into, but they basically say that, and it's very frustrating. All right, let me present my screen here. It's a quick article. And of course, because it's the Independent, they have some stupid video. When I was doing this earlier, they had Amy Schumer on there, and I was like, I don't want this pig on my live stream. She is a pig, just in every sense of the word. So you can see the title. One sec, let me get my notes with this article, which I quickly cooked up here. You can see IRS braces for 500 billion drop in revenue as taxpayers skip filings in wake of DOGE cuts at agency. See, I think that's why that might be why some other people, because I talked to some other professionals and I went on, the Reddit Tax Pros group, and some other people in this field, and even on Twitter, they've been saying that they've been getting clients telling them this, which is just ridiculous. So this is by somebody named Ryan Lubin. I thought I would be doing this with Clary, but Torgo, was she a great big fat person? The thing is, Amy Schumer was, but what's crazy is this Ryan Lubin gal is actually pretty good looking, because I knew Clary would ask. He'd be like, well, what does she look like? This one's actually not bad looking. And, the Independent is a very kind of left-leaning rag. So anyway, we'll go through this. It says, individuals were wagering that auditors will not examine their accounts amid DOGE's plans to downsize the IRS by nearly 20% ahead of tax season. And yeah, you get that stupid video. And so the IRS is bracing for a $500 billion drop in revenue as an increasing number of taxpayers could skip submitting their filings in the wake of the Department of Government Efficiency layoffs, according to a report. Taxpayer behavior has changed since President Donald Trump took office and implemented sweeping federal cuts through Elon Musk's DOGE. Yeah, I should have warned you guys, she is a ginger, but still, compared to who normally writes these articles, she's at least not terrible. As a result, the IRS has, quote, noticed an uptick of online chatter from individuals declaring their intention to not pay taxes this year, end quote, the Washington Post reports, citing 3 people with knowledge of tax projections. I don't like the Washington Post. They're a bullcrap rag of a organization or whatever, journalists, newspapers. But anyway, I don't know the 3 people who those people are, but anyway, they made that quote. And hence those 2 emails I just told you about. I think that that's a good example of what's going on here. It added that individuals were, quote, wagering that auditors will not examine their accounts, end quote, amid DOGE's plans to downsize the IRS by nearly 20% by May 15th. I want to call a timeout here because I think all of you guys probably already know what I'm about to outline here. But here's the thing. Let me explain to you what happens if you don't file a tax return. Okay, there's 2 main outcomes here. Okay, and neither of them are good for you, the taxpayer. Oh man, Raymond, how's it going? You're gonna like this. By the way, Raymond, because I'm out. Raymond's Thoughts in Mind, go to his channel. Raymond, I haven't emailed you yet, but I think I want you to be my first post-tax season guest on here, and we'll probably get Clary on. So that should be the beginning of May, but I'll send you an email about that. I've just been bogged down. So anyway, back to this. So listen, if you don't file a tax return, 2 things happen, and they're both not good for you, okay? The first is that they're automatically going to prepare what's called a substitute tax return for you. Because remember, their computers know what your income was. The W-2s, 1099s, they have all this, okay? investment documents, dividends, interests. That's why my day trader client is so stupid telling me he's not going to file. So anyway, if the computer does these calculations, right, and it turns out you owe, I'm sure you can guess what happens. What do you think the IRS is going to let that slide if they do this substitute tax return for you? Absolutely not. No. You are going to get a very nasty letter in the mail. It's called a CP 2000 notice. I've talked about that many times on here. And not only is it going to include the taxes that they calculated that you owe, but it's also going to have some really, really bad penalties and interest that they tack on there. See, if you file a tax return and you underreport some income, the IRS, whether it's accidentally or on purpose, the IRS will send you the same notice, but the penalty will be, I don't want to say minor, but it'll be not as substantive because they're like, you might have just forgotten to report this. But if you don't file a tax return at all and they find out that you owe money to them, they are very punitive about that. That pisses them off, and your penalties are going to be that much higher. There's a failure. It's called a willful failure to file penalty. By the way, this is how they got Wesley Snipes, that case I worked on. That's a whole other thing, but they'll get you for not filing. And so that's outcome number one. You know how I told you about that long email that I sent Carl, the first guy that emailed me, who's like, I'm not going to file. I put all of this in very explicit writing to Carl. I was like, you're going to get in a lot of trouble, man. A lot of trouble. Again, I haven't heard from him. I'm technically supposed to get somebody's permission before I file an extension for them. I may just do it for him anyway. I don't know. I really hope I hear back from him. But anyway, so yeah, if you don't file a tax return and they do it for you and you owe, you're screwed. Okay, so that's outcome number one if you don't file a tax return. Outcome number two. Let's talk about outcome number two. What do you guys think happens if they prepare this substitute return for you and you're actually owed a refund? Do any of you want to guess what happens when that happens? What do you think the IRS is going to do? You think they're going to tell you that you're owed a refund? I'll wait for your response. By the way, the only thing I don't like about sours is that they don't taste as good when they get warm. So you kind of have to drink them quickly. No refund for you. Yeah, Nick and Steve, you're probably right. I don't think I'm going to end up. I'm going to reach out to him one more time on April 14th, just because I do like the guy. Yes, thinking time, you're absolutely right. So if they do this substitute tax return for you behind the scenes and it turns out you're owed a refund, do you think they're going to tell you that you're owed a refund? No, they're not going to tell you. They're going to keep that refund. And that's all you got. Like, you don't get your money back. And that's what I tried explaining to the guy who sent me the second email about not filing, Phil. I was like, Phil, if you don't file, you're going to be out this refund. And if you do this for 3 straight years, we can't file and get the refund. See, you only have 3 years to go back and get a refund that you're owed. And if that time lapses, you're screwed because then you can't get it. That's the rule. And not so much in the last few years, but when I was kind of up and coming with my practice, I used to try to do previous year's filings for people that would come to me because, I needed the work. And, if it was longer than 3 years ago, when the tax return was due, I just had to tell them, look, there's no point in me filing because that you're going to get a refund, and we can file, but you're not going to actually get that refund. And so I remember one case in particular, this was in like 2017 or 2018. The guy was owed something like a $12,000 refund because he had overpaid on estimated taxes. He was a business owner. And this was from 2013. Yeah, this was 2017 from 2013. We couldn't get it for him. It was tragic. If he had just not sat on his ass, and if he'd come to see me or another CPA, we could have gotten it for him. But yeah, so basically, yeah, like I said, if you don't file a return, there's two bad things that can happen. They'll send you a nasty notice with penalties and interest, or you're owed a refund and you ain't gonna get it. So yeah, that was a pretty big tangent, little timeout there, but let me continue on with the actual article. One sec, back to that. Continuing on. New hires in taxpayer services and enforcement divisions have been targeted, and the agency has dropped investigations of high-value corporations and taxpayers, according to the newspaper. Again, they're talking about the Washington Post, so you might have to take some of that with a grain of salt. The agency employs roughly 90,000 workers across the U.S., according to the IRS data. Yeah, they did lay off 17% of their force, like I mentioned a couple of shows ago. Treasury Department and IRS officials are predicting a decrease of more than 10% in tax receipts by the April 15th deadline in comparison to 2024 filings, which would amount to more than $500 billion of lost revenue, according to the Post. The newspaper said it spoke with officials who shared non-public IRS data. Again, I just don't trust that because they said it's coming from the Washington Post. So, yeah. I will say that, like, based on the emails I got and the online chatter I'm seeing with other tax pros, they're probably right about that. Like, there's a lot of dumbasses who are not going to file because of what they're hearing on social media about this. I'm telling you, TikTok is cancer just with what they're doing. If somebody's giving really bad tax advice on some place like, Twitter, X, or Facebook, or even YouTube, there's at least an opportunity to, in the comments or in replies, be like, this is wrong because XYZ. You can't really do that with TikTok, can you? I mean, maybe there are TikTok comments. I don't have TikTok. I don't want to have TikTok. But even if there are TikTok comments, who actually reads them? So yes, do not get advice from TikTok. I hate TikTok. God, I hate TikTok. So yeah, I do think a lot of people are planning on skipping their tax filings this year. Continuing on. I thought this was actually a pretty good comment from the article. To put $500 billion in context, the U.S. military budget was about $820 billion last year. And we all know that defense has the highest budget of really anything in the government. So $500 billion is kind of a lot with respect to the government's collections. So the Independent has contacted the Treasury Department for comment. Again, the Independent is a UK-based organization, so I don't think, well, they might get a comment. Who knows? Let me know what you think about that, James Burke, if you're still here. IRS officials reportedly tried to warn the incoming Trump administration about DOGE's planned staffing cuts in January. Quote, aggressive reductions to budget and personnel capacity risks backlogs, delays, and reduced receipts and diminished capacity to build next generation digital capabilities, end quote. A presentation seen by the Post, given by tax officials to Trump's incoming Treasury Department team said. Again, that's the Washington Post. So yeah. I mean, I hate to say this. They're probably right about that because, for what it's worth, like the processing of filing amended tax returns, which I do have to do occasionally, not because of mistakes I made, but but because of mistakes that some of my clients have made, and even others who just need help. The processing times for those have actually gotten much slower in the last few months, and that's not just because it's tax season. So I hate saying it, but I think they're actually right about that, about how it's slowing things down. Experts warned against reducing the IRS workforce earlier this month. Former IRS commissioners said it would render the IRS dysfunctional in an op-ed for the New York Times. Quote, aggressive reductions in the IRS's resources will only render our government less effective and less efficient in collecting the taxes Congress has imposed, end quote, the former IRS commissioners have said. I hate the former IRS commissioners. I feel like they were terrible people that tried to blame their organization's failures on tax preparers. I think it was one of my earliest streams was about that from almost 3 years ago. But yeah, I hate saying it. They are actually right about this. But I will say that the only thing about this quote, they use the word efficient. The words government and efficient don't really belong in the same sentence, at least up until we had DOGE, the department for it. But no, the government is not efficient, and the IRS is certainly not efficient. So I'm calling bullshit on that. I think that's it. Oh, there's a little bit more. Oops. There could be other factors at play contributing to the possible drop in revenue, including, this doesn't seem right to me, including the Los Angeles wildfires. Taxpayers in wealthy areas affected by the fires could postpone filing until October. Timur Tului, CEO of Tax Press Service, fileyourtaxes.com, told the Post. Does that not sound like the Kmart of tax prep places? Fileyourtaxes.com? Jeez. Some taxpayers may also opt for a penalty-free 6-month filing extension during times of economic uncertainty. Neither of these account for the $500 billion drop in revenue, however, experts told the newspaper. By the way, you guys already know this, but when you file a 6-month extension, it only gives you 6 months to file the return, but not to pay. People in disaster areas might actually be getting more time to pay. I don't know if that's true. There's some areas where they don't have to file till May. I don't know what's going on in the LA wildfire area. But so just a few conclusions about this. I don't believe, please don't believe the bullshit about not filing a tax return, because like I said, if your income indicates that you're going to owe money to the IRS, they're going to catch you. And if your income indicates that you're owed a refund from the IRS, the computer will recognize this and you won't be notified about it. So file a damn tax return. I had somebody say earlier today, I was talking to someone about this, and they were just like, you're just saying that because you want to get the tax prep fees from them. That's really not it. I mean, yeah, I like collecting the fees for the work I do, but I'm just trying to make sure these guys don't get screwed from different directions. Because again, I actually like both of them as people. Here's another thing. This is not a prediction. This is me telling you, okay? So I'm not saying I think this will happen. I'm absolutely declaring this. I'm sorry, guys, but Trump is not going to get rid of the income tax. He's just not. It's not going to happen because they're going to tweak it, like he did when he was in office. They did a big tax reform back then, in 2017, 2018. The bottom line is that the extremely wealthy benefit way, way, way too much from the way the system is currently set up. Trump's not going to want to change that. All the Congress is not going to change that. All of the lobbyists don't want to change that. The wealthy, the corporate honchos, believe me, it is not in their best interest to eliminate the income tax. It's just not going to happen. So again, file a damn tax return. Do it. And then the last thing I wanted to say, and we have to be fair about this because of how much shit that Clary will talk sometimes. Right wingers can be very stupid too. Okay, I promise you. Like there may be more philosophical alignment as far as some of them go, but don't believe that everything. If somebody is saying something online that sounds unbelievable, particularly on TikTok of all places, you shouldn't believe it. So don't think that, this is suddenly just because there's a Department of Government Efficiency. Don't think, oh, they're going to get rid of the IRS. No, that's not going to happen. If they do end up getting rid of the IRS, They're just going to start another IRS and call it something else. Okay. The income tax is not going away. It's not. So, all right. Well, that was pretty much it. Let me see if we have any super chats and good comments here. See who we got. Daddy and a Caddy for $2. That's a cool name. Chad the CPA, certified pussy annihilator. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? No, I'm just kidding. I will say that being a CPA and being an accountant is not going to get you laid. It's just not. But being an entrepreneur and having your money straight and, being confident about your abilities and running a successful business, that could lend itself to getting the girls. But being a CPA by itself, you're not going to get the girls for that. Trust me. Let's see what else we got. Greg Powers, 20 generous dollars. Thanks, man. Especially with Clary not here. What possesses people to believe this sort of BS? Do they fall for all types of internet scams? I think it's just and by the way, if anybody in the chat has other ideas about this, let me know what you think. I can only give you my own theories about this. I guess my own personal theory or whatever about this. I think it's just wishful thinking. I think a lot of people on the internet, again, on a certain political aisle, like to LARP that, it's going to be a Mad Max, no more government. I don't have to pay taxes. You can't tell me what to do. I think it's just a case of wishful thinking and, cognitive dissonance. I don't know, whatever it's called, but they just want this to happen so much that if they receive any piece of feedback on TikTok or some other source on the internet, they just really want to believe it so much. So I think it could be that. I think some of them have an overinflated opinion of their own intelligence. I don't know. I mean, I'll see if you guys have any ideas in the chat. I don't think anybody's really saying anything. Yeah. I just think people get cocky and they want to LARP, that there's some kind of anti-government rebel. That's all. That's the only thing I can think of. Raymond, I knew you were going to say this. Having your finances in order does not get you the women. I have a few very good ideas about the subject that we'll talk about in May when we get you on. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but there's a way you can package it a little bit better. And no, I don't mean like, throwing down money to attract gold diggers. That's not what I'm talking about. But we'll talk about it on stream. Thanks for the $20, Greg Powers. That's really generous. Sailing Samantha's, what's up, man? I see you in the comments a lot. For $10, just a couple weeks to go. I'm sorry it's over so soon. Learning a lot this year. You're working at was it H&R? Yeah, I think you were doing some work with them. You'd mentioned that in the comments. Later on, probably in May or June, probably May, I'm going to do what I did last year. It's going to be like a round table of folks who worked at H&R Block, maybe Jackson Hewitt, some of the big box outlets. And we're going to have a panel on here. We're going to talk about people's experiences with that, like how tax season went. Send me an email or leave a comment if that's something you think you'd want to participate in, because I would love to hear about your experiences. Red Hawk, we'll definitely have Red Hawk again because this is his second year there, and I'm going to want to hear about his experiences. We have a lot of private text conversations about bad client stories, so that'll be fun. Let's see what else we got. Oh, Raymond, thanks, man, for $5. You never have to leave me a super chat, Raymond. I'm just glad you're here. All these tax cheat LARPers would be dead on arrival. An actual shit hits the fan situation. Just saying, I agree. I agree with you. I think people get so excited anytime they see something anti-government or anti-IRS or something that they get a little bit cocky about it. And look, I really sympathize with it. I'm no fan of the federal government, but I just think some people are getting really ahead of themselves with this not filing a tax return thing. And yes, people that are like, oh, I can't wait for a civil war. Like, No, that is the last thing anybody wants. I don't want that. Alex Patino for $5. I have a friend who failed to file his W-2 1 month. Oh no, 1 month past 3 years, and got a letter stating he was not getting his 1,800. If you guys take nothing else from this particular rant of mine, please remember that if you don't file a tax return and you're owed a refund, they're not going to tell you. And if you try to get the refund 3 years later, you're screwed. You're not getting it. So please remember that. Above all, everything else I said, don't screw yourself that way. Raymond again for $2. No, Raymond, that's not, absolutely not. I would never, ever, ever do that. It's more, I just have some ideas about it. Like, I want your thoughts on a few ideas that I have about, everybody getting their own finances in order and everything. Raymond, I'd never bring you on to ambush. That is not what I do here. I just like having really intelligent people on. And I'm really hoping Clary will join us for this one, because I'm not going to call him intelligent, but he occasionally has some good ideas. So I'll email you about it after tax season. I'll tell you. But no, I do not ambush. For me, this is for fun. Like, I do this as my own personal therapy, and I like to kick around good ideas. So yeah, okay, well, yeah. I think that was it as far as super chats. There were a couple of cool comments here, so I just want to read these real quick. From Lalo, insurance agent here, had a woman not too long ago say she thought she needed insurance since her car wasn't financed. She's 45. God, sometimes I just don't have faith in anybody anymore. Parker, you're listening to this while you're ripping out drywall in your condo. Cool. It's messy as hell, but I need to update this place, and the electrical panel is next. Parker was doing that type of work before he got into taxes, so I know he knows what he's doing. Shoot me an update, man. Bob asked, do people really get penalized? I filed a return for people who did not file for 3 years. Guess what? They were owed a refund. So the IRS doesn't care if you don't file and you're owed a refund, because they can't take your money. What else we got? James Burke, you said, for what it's worth, in the UK and Luxembourg, the tax authority informs you of the refund due, and in Luxembourg, they organize the payment automatically. Yeah, I know that in other countries, they basically send you a postcard in the mail, and they say, well, we calculated everything, and you owe this much. If you don't agree with us, you can not dispute it, but come back and file your return. I think they were trying to do something at least somewhat similar to this in the 2017-2018 reform, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. This was Trump's first term. It didn't work well because, yeah, it looked like a postcard. I remember the 2018 returns. It looked like a postcard on page 1, but they had all these schedules that didn't exist after that. So that's just not going to work in this country. The tax laws are too robust. Can't have it. Yeah, Nick and Steve, I'm putting this up because it's kind of my attitude. I don't feel sorry for non-filers who miss out on their refund, though I do hate that the government gets more money because of it. That you took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, I don't want the government getting more of your money, but if you're so lazy and ineffective at running your own life that you just don't file a tax return for 3 years, I'm sorry, but that's on you. So I think that is everything. Let me see. Seth, when do I need to email you get on the show? I would say anytime after April 15th. In fact, yeah, whoever is listening to this, email, although Parker, I want to hear from you. Email me after April 15th, because it's going to get even busier for the next 20 days. So just if it's after tax season, give me a few days to blow off steam, and I'll respond to everybody's message after that. And Seth, yeah, we'll talk. Maybe we'll get you on here. I think that is it. Andrew, a Discord server for us fans. Man, I don't even have 3,200 subscribers yet. I'm not at a level where I should be offering a Discord server. Nick and Steve, yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk a little bit later. All right, everybody, thank you so much for the super chats. Thanks for hanging out. The only thing I want to mention is Clary and I, it's Clary's course, but it's called, the world's greatest accounting career. He tells you how to break into the industry without having to get a college degree. It kind of walks you through the certifications you need, getting the enrolled agent, the EA, and also how to get experience, working at H&R Block or some of these other places. And you can ultimately start your own firm because there is a shortage in the industry. So that's all he was going for that. I put a link to it in the description like I always do. And if you click that link, I get to pilfer 25% of Clary's fee for that course. So I'm just saying, yeah. So yeah, thinking time. I'm not going to scream the world's greatest. I almost lost my voice last week when I did that. But yeah, that's all for me. I should probably have time to do a stream next week. I don't really know what I'm going to do it on, but just like this week's, there's always something that comes up. There's always something. So, guys, thank you again, and we should hang out soon.